Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're tracking exactly where every single dollar of the World Cup prize money goes, uncovering who actually gets rich, and revealing why the winning players, the ones actually standing on the pitch lifting that iconic trophy, might personally take home way less than you'd think. There are a ton of assumptions out there about football's hidden economy, but the real numbers, they're absolutely fascinating.
Okay, let's just dive right in with the headline number. FIFA has officially confirmed an $871 million total financial distribution for the 2026 World Cup. And no, that's not a typo. It is literally the single largest prize pool in the history of team sports. Just to put that into perspective, we're talking about a massive 65% increase from the 2022 tournament in Qatar. The pot has grown significantly, largely thanks to stronger commercial revenues and the newly expanded 48-team format. So, with a staggering pool of money like that, the immediate question we've got to ask is, how does this cash actually get distributed across those 48 teams? Does it all just go to the winner? Is it split up evenly? Understanding this breakdown is absolutely key to grasping the whole global football economy.
Section 1. The record-breaking prize pool.
Now, what's really interesting here is that the money isn't just one giant briefcase of cash. It's split up. The biggest chunk, about $655 million, is purely performance-based, meaning it's earned strictly by how far a team advances. But there's also a massive $120 million preparation fund. When you add in qualification funding, this guarantees that every single qualifying team gets at least $12.5 million just for showing up. Think about that for a second. A team could lose all 3 group stage matches, get eliminated immediately, and still walk away with over $12 million. Nobody leaves empty-handed.
Section 2. Climbing the payout ladder.
Because that baseline guarantee, that's really just a beginning. The payout ladder escalates incredibly fast as teams advance deeper into the tournament. 4th place takes home $27 million, 3rd takes $29 million, and the runner-up secures $33 million. But check out that jump to the top spot. A team going from runner-up to champion sees their base performance prize rocket all the way up to a cool $50 million.
But wait, it actually gets bigger. When you take that $50 million performance prize and you add the guaranteed qualification and preparation bonuses back into the mix, the champion's total federation payout exceeds $63.5 million. That's an $8 million jump from what Argentina received back in 2022, which is literally the biggest single increase between consecutive tournaments in FIFA's history.
Section 3. The player pay myth. With over $63 million going to the winner, you'd naturally think the players are instant millionaires who just buy a yacht and sail off into the sunset, right? Well, not exactly, which brings us to the real narrative hinge of our explainer today. How much of that massive headline number actually hits an individual player's bank account? This is where public perception and financial reality completely diverge.
So, here is the absolutely crucial point. FIFA does not pay players directly. Not one single dollar of that prize money goes straight from FIFA into a player's pocket. Instead, FIFA hands the money entirely to the National Football Federation of that country. It's then up to the federation to negotiate internally, usually through some kind of collective bargaining agreement, to decide exactly how much to share with the squad and how much to keep for their own operations, youth academies, and grassroots reinvestment.
Section 4. Calculating the player cut.
Let's actually run the math on this using real, reported percentages to see what an individual player's cut truly looks like in practice. Based on what's publicly reported, players usually take home somewhere between a 20% and 30% cut of the federation's total prize money. Now, this varies wildly. Some countries are super generous, while others hold on to a much larger share for themselves, keeping their internal bonus structures strictly under wraps.
Let's look at a worst-case scenario. A team gets eliminated in the group stage. They get that baseline $12.5 million we talked about earlier. If the federation gives the players a 20% share, divided up across a 26-man squad, that yields about $96,000 per player. If they negotiate a 30% cut, it jumps to roughly $140,000 each. Keep in mind, this is for a team that loses every single game and goes home early. Honestly, still not a bad payday.
Now, let's flip it and look at the champions. Taking a 20 to 30% share of that massive $63.5 million pot translates to roughly $400,000 to nearly $600,000 per player from FIFA's money. Is that life-changing money for a lot of people? Absolutely. But it's nowhere near the $63 million headline figure that fans often assume goes directly to the stars on the pitch.
Now, it's important to note there are definitely exceptions to this, and it heavily depends on the wealth of a specific nation. For example, reports suggest the United States men's national team operates under a collective bargaining agreement that pools and equally shares prize money with the women's team. Because of this structure, it could yield roughly $330,000 just for a group exit. But if they were to win the tournament on home soil, factoring in separate federation-funded performance bonuses and sponsor money, a U.S. player could theoretically take home up to $1 million. Basically, your payout heavily depends on the wealth and generosity of your specific federation.
Section 5. Compensating the clubs. Now, there is one more fascinating piece of this financial puzzle that almost never gets discussed, but it's absolutely vital to how modern football works. FIFA runs this really brilliant system called the Club Benefits Program. For 2026, this is an additional $355 million fund. It literally pays club teams, we're talking about the Real Madrids, the Manchester Cities, the Bayern Munichs, to release their players for the tournament. The clubs are compensated based on how many of their players are called up and, critically, how far those players advance. It's designed to compensate the clubs for the immense financial risk of lending out their most valuable assets to international duty, where they might get injured or fatigued. So when you take that $871 million team prize money and you add this $355 million club compensation program, FIFA's total financial footprint for this single summer tournament actually exceeds $1.2 billion. Let that sink in. $1.2 billion flowing through the global football economy in just a matter of weeks. Let's just zoom out for a second and look at the historical growth here, because the trajectory is just wild. Back in 2018 in Russia, the pool was $400 million. In Qatar in 2022, it was $440 million. And now, for 2026, it has leaped to $871 million. The total prize pool has literally more than doubled in less than a decade.
Which leaves us with a final, kind of provocative thought to take away from this explainer. With the total tournament outlay climbing exponentially, and these billion-dollar footprints becoming the new normal, the federations and clubs are getting richer than ever before. So the question is, how long will the players, the very athletes generating all this enormous wealth on the pitch, remain satisfied with taking home just a fraction of the prize? It's a tension that is definitely going to shape the future of the sport. Thank you so much for joining me to demystify these numbers today, and remember, always keep questioning the headlines.